Is there anyone new here joining this meeting for the first time?
Dave Smith.
Can you introduce yourself that everyone of us know you?
I've been around xAPI for a few years. I know Andrew and Craig and several of the other people. And tracking video seemed to be of interest to me, so I thought I'd pop in and see what's going on.
I think you are in one of the design cohort as well, the same one in which I am.
Yes, with Patrick, in fact, yes.
I have been missing in action on that group.
Well, that's right, Pankaj. You've been there too, yes.
Yeah. Anyone else doing that?
This is Laura Bunty. I have been on a call previously in other community practice groups. I wanted to see where the video was at this point.
That's great.
I'm an instructional designer, and so I'm using video for my mobile designs, mobile learning.
That's good. So yeah, we are trying to create standard where we can be able to better track the information we get from videos.
Yep.
Anyone else here for the first time? Okay, so I cannot browse the list, so I don't know who is new here. So let's get started. This is the fourth meeting we are having today. We had a bit of technical move up and little confusion about time, but we are settled now. Next meeting will be on 5th May. This will be the first Tuesday in May at the same time, 2:30 EDT. So far we have discussed some use cases that we want to be able to handle with videos tracking using xAPI. So let's run through this list quickly and then we'll see. Today I want that we can attach some trackable events and data we want to track for each use case, and then we'll be able to get into each event and see how we want to track each of those events, and then start getting into how to create the statements and how to get that data into the statements in the right way. So to start with, we can start with these use cases that we have. If anyone has any new use case, you can suggest them. You can write them in the list yourself. There is no restriction. Anyone can write on this document, and then we can start finding out things. So first thing is we want to have basic tracking of individual video, the interactions that users have with the video, and this will help us find places where people and what video they have taken, when they started, when they ended, and things like that. So for that, I have written a few of the trackable statements like start, play, pause, end, complete. So this first requirement talks about the interactions that users have with the video. So whatever interaction a user can have with the video, we would want to be able to track. So things like if a user is attempting a video, we would want to check if a user has attempted or started or launched the video. So we could call it start, we could call it launch, we could call it attempt. Yeah, we need to decide what we want to call it, and then they could play, they could pause, they could skip, they could end the video, or they could have completed the video. So there can be different meanings for end and completed, and we have to decide what that meaning is. An end could be just reaching the end. A user can skip and just reach the end of the video, and that would be end of the video. But we could have a broader meaning for completed, where a user has in actual seeing through the entire video. Even if he skipped on one attempt, he went back and completed that. So we could have two meanings, two things. One could be end, one could be completed, and we have to decide and define what completed is actually and what is end in actual meaning. So we have to define that meaning here. For the moment, we'll just see what events we can track. So these are the events that I have written down. If someone has more suggestions, or if I have missed something, we could add, or you could add it here. So for this use case, I think these events are there which we can track. So anyone has any more suggestions here?
This is Laura. I was thinking of the ability to track when a learner or user shares a video with somebody else for whatever purpose in the program.
Okay.
So well, I could see that. So basically, if you're trying to figure out what the most at least one metric of how a video might be effective, in that it would be recommended.
Right, right. Share it with maybe another learner. So maybe the metric is that they have to find their own videos and in a relative for a relative purpose and share with the rest of the community or learners.
Right.
Or maybe it's a creation of their own video that they share.
Yeah, so it'll be something, it'll not be the direct interaction with the actual video, but it will be like sharing the video. So yes, we can probably see how we can share anything, and then maybe have a way to connect that with the video. So
or I'm thinking of situations too where there's a coach mentoring learners and they ask the learner to go out and find a relevant video and upload it to a site or share it with just the coach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yes, we can think about that. It would sharing is in a way a general event that can be done with videos. It can be done with documents. It can be done with articles. It can be done with website links. So it is a general event, and we could have a broader way to track sharing of anything, and then we could see how we can link that with the video. So if you are sharing a video, you could have a standard sharing statement which goes to the LRS, but we could have some additional information that links it to the videos. So I think that would be the best way to handle it. I would call it sharing it with someone specific.
Right, content is content, and it could be in different formats or forms.
Yeah.
Perhaps somebody in another community practice group has already identified this type of statement.
Yeah, so video is kind of content, and you can share it like you can share any other content. it could be shared with someone specific or with public in general. You could share it on Facebook. We could see if we can create a statement for it so that it can be tracked using xAPI, and then we could see if we can relate it to the content, the video in our case. So far, for anything extra that is outside the video itself, where we just need to link it to the videos, I would call it a related statement. So these statements going into the LRS, or these tracking data going into the LRS, we just need to be able to link to the video itself, so that when we want to get information about a particular video, we can get all related information about that video, or get specific type of information, like all the data related to sharing a particular video you could get out of the LRS if we are able to link the sharing information to the video itself. So similarly, it could be like if a user comments on a video, or user bookmarks a video, or there is a quiz attached to a video. All these things have their own independent standing, but we want to just link it to the video because we want to be able to know what comments are made to the video, or what quizzes are linked to the video, or which part of the video. So there are a lot of different use cases, and this could be one good one for that. We can discuss it again. So for now, we are talking about interaction with the video itself. Anyone has anything else to talk about it?
This is Anthony. I have a question. I'm looking at the events number 1 and 2. Is the intent here that you would use a different? Are we tracking the primary launch or start or play of a video differently than if you were to play halfway, stop, and then restart it or resume it? Is the intention here that we would track those differently?
Yeah, because when a user attempts or launches a video, that would be one event. If he, in the middle, if he pauses the video and then restarts it, it would be play. It would not be a relaunch. He's not starting it all over again. So it is the same attempt or same launch, but he's playing the video again. He might pause it and then play it again. So play would probably be much more different than launch or attempt.
So I guess
I did the launch. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Play and pause is in combination. Like if you pause the video, yeah, go ahead.
Is the idea that launch is like where you first come to a page that's got a video on it, and then play is where you press the play button on the video? Or is it that the launch is going to the page and pressing play for the first time, but when you press play for the second time, that's...
Whenever the video gets played, if you launch a video, it might auto start, it might not auto start. So if it auto starts, it will be like the user launches, there will be a launch or attempt statement, and then there will be a play statement because it played the video, though it could be autoplay. And if it doesn't autoplay, there would be like a play button, you click it, and then it will be a play event. So both are two different events.
So
Okay, yeah.
So that's going to get wildly confusing very quickly for a host of reasons, not the least of which is the scenario you just described. On a computer screen, if autoplay is set, then I'll get the launch and I'll get the play. From what it sounds like, on an iOS device, or actually no, from what you said, I'd get the launch, but I wouldn't get the play because I didn't actually hit the play button. Whereas on an iOS device or some Android browsers, autoplay is disabled by the browser. So we're going to have different, that process is going to be different depending on what browser you're in. Also what security settings and everything. And then compound that with, depending on what player you're using, I'm familiar with JW Player, but I'm not familiar with some of the others that are out there, JPlayer or YouTube. There's really not a difference between pressing the play button the first time and pressing it the second, without a lot of programmatic intervention there to look at. Well, what does the timestamp equal when I hit the play button, or something like that?
Yeah. So the first thing you talk about is will this work on all devices? Currently, we don't know. You have some information because you have played with few of those browsers, and it is a useful information. Whether it is autoplay or it is manual play, if we are able to track the play thing, we don't have to call it it was autoplayed or it was manually played. We can call it a play, whether it is autoplay or a manual play. So on an iOS device, if I launch a video and it doesn't start automatically, you have to click a button. And when you click a button, it plays, and that will be an event which we track. It will be a play event. And the same video on a different device, maybe on Android, you can autoplay that, and if it autoplays, it will send that play event as soon as the video launches. So there will be a launch statement when the video launches, and then automatically it starts and it will send a play event. So, but there might be some places where we cannot track that event. Maybe if the video is played in the iOS default player, I don't know if we can track any of these things. So we'll have to see what we can track, and then we can say that this can be currently tracked using these browsers or these on these platforms. Because if we cannot track, we cannot do anything about it.
So I guess my question then is, what is the purpose? It sounds more like the launch or start or whatever is telling me that I got to that, or is telling somebody that I got to that page. If it's sending the play anyway, then I'm not sure I understand what the point of the launch is. With regards to the video, how is that different than having a statement on the page that says I viewed the page?
The launch is like the view of the page. So the user launched that video, he went to that page. And calling play means the video played. And whether it is autoplay or it is manual play, when that play action happens, it sends the play event. So if you are getting the launch statement, you would know that user went to that page where the video is there. But unless you see a play statement, you would know that he didn't play the video.
Is it worth following CMI5 for launched? So it's the same verb for anything, video or whatever.
Yeah, we can use the same verb. That is good information.
All right, that answers.
Anthony, does it make sense?
It does, in the extent that the launch verb is outside the scope of video and in the scope of the page view. My concern is I don't want there to be an expectation that the launch verb would be attached to the video player object, where I'm getting a launch that I viewed the page, a launch that I opened the object, and then a play that I played this video. So on autoplay, I'm getting 3 statements sent immediately, 2 of which would be duplicate.
On autoplay, it would be 2 statements. One will be launched,
well, that's where I'm saying I think we need to know that the launch is not related to the video. It's related to the page. One of the things I'm concerned with is somebody would look at this and say, okay, I need to send a launch relevant to the video player object, not the page. So if we were going through the full CMI5 standard that somebody just mentioned, I don't recognize the voice, sorry, you'd send a launch when the page loads, and if you were to read this and interpret that you have to send a launch that the video player object loads as well, then you're going to send essentially 2 duplicate statements.
Practically, yeah, practically you would not send a launched statement until and unless the player object is created. So when you go into that technicality, until and unless that, if you are launching a YouTube video, until and unless the video appears there, you would not send the launched statement, because there might be situations where you're launching the page in a browser which cannot play the video. So you would not call it that he launched the video because it didn't launch. The browser cannot play it. So ideally, it would be that when the player object is created, when there is a screen you can see, that is when you send the launched statement. And then the object will hit a play. That is when you send a play statement.
This is Andrew here, just to complicate things a little bit more. So CMI5, it's actually the application that launches the content that sends the launch statement. So in the case of CMI5, that's an LMS, but I guess it could be some other page that hyperlinked to a video. And then the initialized verb would come on the particular page. So I think, given that it is a bit complicated, maybe it is worth leaving it out of scope of the video profile and just saying, we recommend that you use standard verbs, follow another recipe for dealing with the launch of the page and the accessing the page, and these verbs and activity types and things are only in relation to the videos on the page.
Yeah, I agree with that, because situations might be different on different browsers, on different devices, and on some devices we might not be able to even track anything once the player starts, because if your player doesn't give events happening inside the player, you would not be able to track that at all. So in those places you might want to at least track that the user launched the video. At least you would know that video was launched. So yeah, we can leave it to the content developers or the video developers who are building this using this profile. So should I remove start and attempt and make it only launched? Just so that we have a similar way of tracking the launch, because CMI5, if they're using launched, we would want to use the same verb.
Well, we could remove it entirely, just start with play resume, and then just maybe have a note to say use CMI5 for launch and attempts.
I would want to have something for the launch, because when I see as a reporting problem, I would want to be able to know when a video was launched. So until and unless we have a standard which we can decide when it was launched, it would get pretty complicated when creating reports.
Well, but
Yeah, there would be a standard. It would just be CMI5 instead of the video profile. And the video profile would reference CMI5. It just wouldn't duplicate it.
right.
Okay. So then we have play, pause, skip, and completed. We could decide on what names and what verb names we would want to use at a later stage. Is there any other event we can think of that we want to track apart from these?
So I put a note, actually I think I put 2 notes. And Laura has seen my 2 notes and raised one of her own, it appears. Do we want to have 2 verbs, one to signify that I've completed the video, by which I define completed as reached the end of the video, versus exit or quit or something else? Say I watch halfway through and then completely leave the page.
Yeah, that would be a third thing if you want to add, because probably we would want to track when the user reaches the end of the video. It doesn't matter he reached directly or he went through the entire video, because after the end you would not expect anything more coming in. So I think it might be useful to know that the user reached the end of the video, and completed would be something that probably any author or any teacher or any manager for a company would want to know if the user completed the entire video, he went through the entire video, not skipping parts of it. So
Well, I mean, for me, for example, my use case is, we spend quite frankly, hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars a year on video production. I want to know how many of those videos are being watched, and if they're not being watched, are people leaving them right away? Are they waiting how far in are they getting to try and discern, are they getting bored? Is the video not of good quality? Whatever. So for me, that's actually a pretty important statistic to have.
yeah, that is exactly where this completed was thought of. It might be a little complicated to implement this particular verb, but it was meant to give that exact information that the user completed it. He might have started and completed 10 minutes, starting 10 minutes of the video, then skipped to the end and then came back and completed the rest of it. But if he has gone through the entire video, I would want to call it completed. So we could decide the exact specifics of this completed verb at a later stage after we go through the other events. But yes, this completed was thought of for that exact reason. And end would just be like you reached the end, the last second of the video. Now, if we want, we can add another verb for when the user left. Maybe he went through the starting few minutes and then closed the window.
Is that going to be hard to capture? I'm saying most videos don't have like an exit button. They just navigate away from the page or close the browser. I'm just thinking that might be difficult to catch that in a lot of cases. Maybe we're better off just saying, it's a point where whatever the previous statement was, that was the last thing that happened.
Yeah, I agree. It might be very hard to track that. In case of browser window, we could track when the browser was closed if it was closed, but in other cases, I don't know if we can even track it. But if it is important, we could think about it. Okay, so let's leave that for now, and if there is more demand, we could think about it and at least have it there and call it. It cannot be done in most of the scenarios. Next is using results of the individual user interactions to improve quality of the video. To be able to improve quality of the video, we have to want to probably see where people skip, where people watch the video again and again. And yeah, most of the tracking information that we have for basic tracking might be useful here. We could also have a mapping of video consumed or number of attempts. We could see how many attempts they made, or be able to track individual attempts they made to the video, how many times they launched, things like that. So I think launch would take care of the attempts, and yeah. If possible, we could have, if we could have a mapping of the video consumed, like it could be visual, it could be also numerical data of what parts of the video was consumed. The user could go through the video. If it is a long video, he could go through the video in multiple pauses and skips. So at the end, what he watched, if we can see that map of the consumed video, like from 0 to 60 seconds he watched, and then from 75 to 90, and then from 120 to 140. So if we can get that data out of the LRS in some way, or we could store it in the LRS, which can be used to create a map, it would be useful to check and improve the quality of the video as well. It is kind of a wish. I don't know how easy or how complicated it will be. We'll have to see. Any suggestions here? Next is using results of individual user interactions to see what parts of the video were watched most. Would be interesting is watching video multiple times can mean two things. It's useful part of the video is not clear. So this is similar to use case number 2. It would be like seeing which part of the video is watched most, and it could mean that part of your video it could mean that a part of the video which is watched repeated times might be useful. It might be a solution to a problem, and the user might go back and try to watch that part of the video again and again. Or it could mean that that part of video is not clear, it is blurry, or the audio is not clear, and user wants to see it again and again. So at least if we can highlight what parts of videos are watched again and again, it might be useful for the analysis and improvement of the video. I think if we can create a map of the video consumed, it would be useful here, as well as seeing the number of attempts. Any words here? Am I talking to myself?
No.
I think a lot of these cases, they're obviously very important use cases, but they're covered by the same statements, by the same set of data. Probably, I think 1 to 4 would be covered by the same sets of data that 1 is covered by.
Yeah. Especially 2 and 3 would be almost same, and maybe 4 is a correlate individual test scores with number of times or amount of video that was accessed. Other types of correlation.
I'm assuming for that one, test scores would be tracked by some other mechanism, for some other recipe.
Yeah. So test scores can be tracked by another mechanism. It could be CMI5, or it could be any other way that scores are tracked, and then it could be correlated with the data we get from video. So if we are able to correlate number of times video was watched, or special parts of the video which was watched, comparing it with particular questions or particular test scores, it might be a useful correlation where you can find that if a user has watched this part of the video, he is more likely to be able to answer this question correctly, or this test correctly. It might be complicated, but if we can get enough data into the LRS, people can create reports out of it. So again, if we can get a mapping of the video consumed, it can be useful, and if we can get mapping per attempt, it can be more useful. So, yeah. But yes, it is almost the same data we want to track for all these use cases. 5, 6, 7. These would be a little different. Annotation, comments, notes left by the user on a video. So yeah, these can be also useful information. It can mean the video users are trying to say something about the video or discussing something about the video. It can give a lot of information. We would want to be able to track that data as well. ELF has given a link for annotation. They are working on W3C annotation working group. So they are working on how annotation should be handled in different scenarios. So there is a very nice diagram. If you guys want, you can go through it. It's a very nice explanation of how things can be, how annotations can be tracked, or how it should be tracked on a particular web page or on any content. I haven't gone through the exact data model and if we can create xAPI statements from it, but it could be a good standard where you could, which you could use to create statements for annotations. But we can keep creating those statements out of scope for this effort, but we could find a way we can relate those statements with the video. It could be like adding a grouping ID or a parent ID, or we could additionally add some meta information in an extension. That is what I think of currently. Because we might not be able to go in and standardize all of these things, how to create statements for comments, for different annotations, writing notes, for sharing the video, and all these things. I guess it might be best to find a way we can relate all those statements to the video itself. Probably grouping ID and maybe parent ID. Any suggestions? Andrew?
Yeah, I think I agree that there are, obviously as you say, there are other groups working on the social elements, and we should let them do the social elements, but also, as you say, there will be video-specific stuff that we almost want to build on the social things with the video information. So we really need the social stuff to be completed first, and then say, you know, how that relates to video, whether that's the point in time of the video that it relates to, or the position on the image, or, you know, a still image of the video that it might relate to, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So they can continue, and we could just like CMI5 launched, we could say that we use their statements, whatever they create, and we can add a grouping ID or additional meta information that relates to this video. We could decide on what additional information that they need to add for tracking videos. And if possible, we can add some sample or example statements for each of these. It would be useful for them. So similarly for 6, provide video feedback in an assessment. Example, repoint learner to video if he didn't watch it completely. This is an interesting point. Where video is used as a feedback. It's something like sharing a video. Video is used as a feedback, and this information we would want to relate to the video. It would be another place where we would want to relate this feedback statement to the video. We could create some sample statements. We could specify how we can track it. And maybe we could add tags to parts of videos. So this was another thing I was thinking, like if we can add tags for specific parts of video, like from 15 seconds to 10 seconds, 15 seconds to 25 seconds, this is the tag. So if this video is talking about something specific, like there is a seminar on e-learning and someone is talking about xAPI from say 30 seconds to 120 seconds, we can tag that part of the video with xAPI. So anyone searching for xAPI might be able to land to that part of the video instead of trying to go through the entire video. So if we can tag parts of the video or the entire video, it could be helpful. And it would be, again, the related statements. You could have meta information like the start and end for that, the part we are tagging. Will it be useful? Yes, no, maybe.
So is this for the user to learn themselves to be able to select parts of the video for like reflection or something like that?
Actually, these are two different things. One could be like where a user provides a video as a feedback on a particular article or a question. It could send a feedback statement and then point out which part of the video was sent as feedback or the entire video as feedback. But when talking about tags, it could be like the author can tag parts of the video, or viewers can tag parts of the video, just like you go to Facebook, see a birthday photo and you can tag people in the image. You could tag parts of the video and say that this part of the video is about xAPI, this part of the video is about IMS, this part of the video is about Scholar. So it could be another use case.
I guess my first question would be how available is that option in the various player, the various players?
I don't know if it is available, but if we can think of it and we can just talk about it, probably this could be a useful scenario for people using a lot of videos, and probably they can say if it will be useful. This is just out of my thoughts, so it doesn't need to be part of this profile, but it is just out of my thought, and people here who use a lot of videos might be able to say that this can be useful and we'll add it. You could even call captions as a tag here and have a similar kind of thing. From 5 seconds to 10 seconds, this statement is being spoken. If you upload a YouTube video on YouTube, you can go in and you can set the captions that display on the video, and you can select from which time to which time this statement will be shown.
Well, you can do that as the person who published the video, but I, as the viewer, can't do that.
Yeah, exactly. So this could be a future thing for users, but even if it is for publisher, we would need to have a way to do that.
I wonder if this, it's not the tagging of the section that's important, is it? It's what you do with that section. So whether you commented on that section or you displayed a caption on that section. So I wonder if this fits into the area of social elements, where we might, the social community of practice might define to comment on something or to share something, and then we might have some additional extensions specifically for video that relate to the start and end point of that sharing or of that of that commenting. And even if the players don't support it, it could be that it's built into a wrapper or something. I don't think there's any harm in thinking about how these things will be defined, even if they're not immediately technically possible with the available players. Although that said, I'd always encourage us to keep the scope as tight as possible and avoid going off into things that nobody's actually planning on doing anytime soon. It's always, where possible, it's best for somebody to try something out and then build a standard on top of that experimentation of what's actually been done, if we can.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, when you talk about that, it gave me a feeling that tag, what I was talking about, is almost same as annotation. So yeah, we can add that in the annotation section. It is exactly same as annotations. You can call it tag, you can call it annotations. Yeah, so we can have it there. And feedback, you can add the same comment feedback. Well, no, this is different. You're giving video as feedback, so 0.6, let it be there. Video queued assessment. If user reaches a particular point in a video, then point him to an appropriate test for understanding. This will be like a quiz in a part of video. User watches 5 minutes of video, then he gets 2 questions. He answers those questions, and that needs to be tracked. You probably also want to track the time taken user for assessment questions. You would want to be able to track other things related to the quiz itself. Yes, people who are worried if users are actually watching the video or they started the video and went to sleep. These video queued assessments will be also able to help there if we are able to track time and those things. It is mostly out of scope of this profile, but it is very useful and it is part of videos. Tracking quiz would be completely out of scope, but we could have those statements add additional meta information or additional information as a related statement, and that could be used to see where this quiz was and what was the score, how much time was taken, and all those additional information we need. So I think we can keep tracking the quiz as a part of another standard, but have a way to relate it with the videos itself, just like with other things, comments, annotations, and feedback, even sharing. Does that make sense?
I think so. Are you suggesting that the questions would be launched from the display or somehow enable some assessment object after a certain time stamp is hit in the video?
It would depend on the content developer, so we are not restricting or we are not suggesting how the content developers should do it. But currently, even in Articulate, you could have like a video playing, and then at a particular point, the video will stop, and it will ask for a question. You could click and answer that question, and then again, video will move ahead. So that is possible currently, but we don't have a very good way to track that information. If we can just specify how we can relate it to the video, how we can specify at what point of the video this assessment started, and how much time it took for the user, and those additional information about the quiz, and relate it to the video, it would be easier for tracking the information and to analyze that information. But it depends completely on the content vendor. It could be like at a particular point a new page opens and that page has the assessment, or it could be just a pop-up on that same video screen, pause the video, pop up and ask 2 questions or 5 questions, and then that pop-up goes off and video starts again. Or it could be anything that the content vendor or content designer decides. But it will be useful if we are able to have a way to track that information and suggest a way to track that information. Probably we can specify that you have to use this column profile, or you have to use the CMI5 profile, and use that to track these assessments. It might be useful. There is another COP working on this column profile, another COP working on the CMI5. We could use one or both of them. Make sense?
Yeah, I get what you're going for.
Good. So saving a video, it is again, saving is, I guess, part of the social. I guess they would be having a standard for this, but again, we can have a way to relate statements. So I have been talking about relate statements a lot, but yeah, we have to think how we would relate that. So I haven't myself thought a lot about how we would do that, but yes, we'll have to find out a way to do that. Is there any COP working on annotations, comments, and these things?
I don't know if it's the COP, but Risk and Float Mobile did some learning, some work to implement annotations, track annotations within PDFs. And so they defined some verbs and activity types for that. Now, I guess some of that isn't relevant for video, but there might be a reasonable amount of overlap. So that's something worth looking at. All those verbs and activity types are on the registry, registry.tinkapi.com.
Do we have anyone in that COP? Anyone here who is working with them or in that COP? Okay, Andrew, if you have more information, maybe if you can send it to me or to the group, it will be useful. And I'll also try to track more information. Maybe I'll talk to Jason and Andy about it. It will be useful if we can just use whatever they create for it and just find a way to relate it to videos.
Cool. I've put a link to the registry in the chat, and then all the verbs and activity types start with risk-inc.com/annotator. So if you scroll down, they're because they start with R, they're near the bottom of the page. You should be able to find it. We've got annotated and modified annotation of the verbs, and then the activity types are highlight, note, underline, and free text.
I'm getting a 404.
Oh, don't click the second link. That's not actually a link that you can go to. If you go to the first link, and then just in your browser search for the second link, the second address, or just scroll down to the bottom. It's not right at the bottom of the verbs section. It is right at the bottom of the activity type section.
Free text annotation.
Yeah, that's the one. There's four of them: highlighted text, note, underline. I guess for a video they'd all be note annotations. You wouldn't really have underlining and highlighting in a video. Or maybe you'd have highlighting actually.
Name description. Is there any additional meta information?
And I can link you to a blog that describes the project, and there's a webinar where they talk about it, but there isn't a recipe that describes how they fit together. It's on my to-do list to put one together, but I haven't quite got around to it yet.
Yeah, that might be useful. And looking at the verbs, it is a little complicated. It's tough to understand. Do we have it in the recipes?
No, it's not in the recipes yet. I've just done a link to a blog that describes the application that they used it in, and there's a screenshot as well.
Maybe you can comment it here. If you can comment it here. Yeah, I'll go through it, and everyone else can also go through it, and we'll have to figure out what we can do here. If we can specify a particular recipe or a particular COP, it would be great. Otherwise, we'll have to leave it open. Same thing for the feedback. Probably it might be part of social COP. But I have not been in those meetings, so I cannot say if they are adding feedbacks there. It can be same as comment. So yeah, I guess we have all these, only these use cases. So yeah, I think we can finish this meeting now and talk about more about the events in the next meeting, finalize which events we want to use and what should be the name, what verbs we want to use, what existing verb we can use or create another new verb if required. There are more things here that we have not discussed, like captions, mute, seek, language, device. There are a lot of things here we can discuss in the next meeting. So thanks everyone for joining this meeting today, and have a good day. See you next in the next meeting on 5th of May.